Welcome to another video, guys. Today we're gonna be talking about the 5 best decks in Hearthstone right after the latest patch. I was wondering if I should be doing an updated top 5 today, because we haven't really seen too much changes from the last couple of days, but still, it would be a good idea to see what exactly is happening with the meta after these huge changes. Anyway, I'm gonna go over the 5 decks, talk about mulligans, win rates, and general tips so you guys know what you should be playing with, as well as what to be expecting against. And I'm also gonna check out all of the other working archetypes for each individual class, so stick around to the end so you get the full picture. If you find the video helpful, it would be awesome if you drop a like and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget you can check me out live on stream each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. But now, let's get into it.
You are not prepared!
Before we get into the decks, I would like to remind you, if you want to support the channel for free, there's no better way than to check out my premium download link for Raid Shadow Legends. I know a lot of people have said bad things about this game, and personally I also thought it was bad, but once I tried it, I couldn't really let it go anymore. The game is insanely deep, the graphics are actually kinda insane, and yeah, it's just a very satisfying grind type game, where you get to keep on pushing your teams further and faster, so you can do some pretty crazy things. Right now, it's one of the best times to be starting the game with my premium download link, because you are gonna get yourself 4 amazing champions as soon as your first week, and that is gonna get you a top tier legendary champion Fallen Foulbeard, including 3 other pretty top tier epics. But not only that, you're gonna have 48 hours to use the promo code section from here, and you could be using the code Super Victory, which is gonna get you another top tier champion, which would be Pelops the Victor from the new Argonites faction. And if that wasn't enough, we also have a 3rd legendary champion you could be grabbing in your first week, thanks to the new login rewards, which are gonna get you none other than Skeletor from the franchise Master of the Universe. So if you guys are actually fans of Skeletor and He-Man, now would be a pretty cool time to jump in. I'm telling you, the game is pretty top tier, and I have been enjoying it tremendously, and heck, I even have myself a YouTube channel about it, where I give you all sorts of detailed, top quality guides, so you guys can jump into the game straight out. So yeah, I hope you enjoy it, and if you ever need help in Raid, drop by my live streams over at YouTube each Tuesday and Thursday. But now, let's get into the best decks. So, the first deck on the list is gonna be Bubble Pally, and I gotta say, this is one of the easiest decks you could be hitting easy legend with, because it's just so damn good. It's really not complicated to play it well, and there are several different iterations of this deck. I just tried another variant with a couple of convalescents, which actually felt pretty strong, but this is a more traditional list, which finds room for a Royal Librarian, so you can actually silence some big things, including eggs, and also a Xavius. We do have the flight maneuvers, as well as a little bit bigger, better early game, and we even have things like Shelter Survivor in order to actually remove some chunky men in between the maneuvers early. You obviously have Acceleration Aura with the Violet Treasure Guild package, you have all of the good auras including Gelbin, and you do have plenty of end turn effects with Toref, with the Bulwark, with Nosdormu, with Spearheart Sentry, and you also get to trigger it out extra times with the Sand Fury Aura, as well as with the Inspiring Maul. The deck is really not that hard to play, and you can definitely expect easy climbing with it. But now let's see what the updated matchups are looking like. And here you can see that Spelldemon Hunter is slightly on the negative, Aggro Pally is also a little bit under, but everything else 50% or very much in your favor. When you are going first with this deck, you are going to be looking for your Violet Treasure Guild first and foremost. You could also hold on to a Twilight Egg or to a Righteous Protector. The Flight Maneuvers is also pretty premium, especially if you already have some cheap stuff in between it. Straight out holding on to Acceleration Aura is okay if you don't have the Treasure Guild already, and the rest is going to come down to what you already have in your hand. On the coin, again, try to get the Treasure Guild, the Flight Maneuvers, the early game, that kind of stuff. As for other Paladin decks, this one was looking pretty top tier a couple of days ago, so I will be giving you an updated guide plus gameplay for it probably on Monday or Sunday, so be on the lookout for that. But we can also see straight out aggressive lists, with things like Dude Paladin looking pretty okay right now. Other iterations of Bubble Pally are also up there. Even things like Aura Pally with her Soul are still here, but seems like straight out Aggro Pally is not looking as good as it used to. Imbue Pally definitely dog water. Next up we have Aggro Druid, and this deck was top tier on the last top 5, and it still very much is. Even though it got nerfed, it's still pretty premium. There is an interesting inclusion in this list, however, which would be Bashana instead of one Overheat from what I can tell, and that definitely does sound pretty interesting indeed. Bashana is one of those bomb cards that you just play around turn 7 or 8, and that could actually carry your mid game if nothing else worked. So it is an interesting inclusion. It's not gonna help your early game as much, but to be fair, this deck has crazy early game game already. Overheat, on the other hand, definitely is an amazing thing to have once you actually established a good board, but also it could be quite clunky for your Wildwood circles, because if you have an overheat in between a shattered circle, well, you're probably gonna discard one of those circles if you want to be combining them. We also have things like Xavius in here and a single copy of Panther Mask, so the list is slightly different from what I showed you yesterday, but still definitely looks pretty promising. Matchup-wise, here's what we have as for updated stats, and Bubble Pally might be slightly on the negative. Not so slightly, actually, it's kinda hard, but other than that, you should have no problem winning against most other classes. On the mulligan, when you're first, you are gonna be looking for your good early game curve with the eggs, the Ravenous Flock, the Living Root, the Felwood Treant is also pretty alright. Holding on through a circle nice and early allows it to actually unshatter it a lot quicker, and if you already have yourself the Flock, definitely hold on to Hatchery Helper. Innervate might also be worth it, especially with a circle already in it. On the coin, again, plenty of the same stuff, so mulligan accordingly. As for other good lists, right now this is the one I'm showing you with Bashana, but as you see we have several other iterations without it, so if you didn't get the class sets, you could definitely give it a go without it. Here's the other version I showed you, I think. No, this is again slightly different with a single Panther Mask, but for the most part it still looks pretty much the same. But yeah, right now Aggro Druid definitely is at the top of its game. Mirror Druid is also pretty strong, especially if you're facing a lot of Spell Demon Hunters. And there's also this weird new list called Big Druid, I think, which has pretty pitiful win rate. Here's one that actually looks a lot better than I remember it. The last one was under 50%, but this is a different iteration. It's more of a location druid than anything else. There's also a weird Big Druid out there somewhere. But yeah, definitely not the best if you want to be climbing. Yeah, this is the list I remember, and it's not looking that hot. Spot number 3 still goes down to Demon Hunter, with Spell Demon Hunter obviously, and yeah, the deck is just still way too strong after the Hounds of Fury got nerfed. It really didn't do all that much. I was expecting this card to lose attack instead of health, but lately Hearthstone has really been going pretty soft with the nerfs. I don't know why. Apparently they're very happy with the metagame. To be fair, it is definitely one of the metas ever, but I don't know. Definitely not as fun as it could be probably, but it is what it is. Nothing too crazy about this list. Actually, Solitude came back into it, but also double Broxigar Last Stands is also in here, so I wonder what's actually getting cut here. We still have 2 Horns of Feasting, so what don't we have, damn it? Well, I guess I can check similar decks and that's gonna become pretty apparent, and yeah, Nispira Enthralled is missing, as well as Hive Map, which is kinda interesting, but I guess the deck is definitely not bad like this. But to be fair, there is basically perfect 26 cards for this deck, and the last 4 you literally could be including any non-minion card and still have great results. Anyway, not much to talk about here, just check out all my detailed guides about this deck and you should be having no problem climbing with it. Matchup wise, here's what we have right now. Nothing too crazy, but egg decks definitely are not going to be your friend, and both Warlock and Egg Warrior are farming this deck in higher legend. Same can be said for Mirifra Druid. Well, not farming, but you're definitely unfavored in that one. So yeah, all around it's a great deck to be climbing, but there are a few a little bit on the polarizing side matchups. Going first with a deck like this, you are going to try and get yourself Sigil of the Seas, the Grim Harvest, the Weapon, Wyvern Slumbers early is great, curving into the Eternal Hold can be insane, First Portal of Argus is also pretty alright, Sigil of Cinder depending on the matchup, and if you have Horn of Feasting already close to Outcasted or Outcasted, definitely hold on to it. Depending on the matchup, Infestation might make sense. Going second, again, try to keep the good 1-2-3s, and curving into the location could be insane. Going second is definitely a lot more viable to be holding on to removal stuff like Horn, like Infestation potentially, heck, even Hounds of Fury makes sense here. According to the stats, there's really no other good Demon Hunter deck out there, even though Herald Demon Hunter definitely is close to getting enough stats to show here, and it is gonna be probably close to 55% win rate. We can just check out the last 7 days. Yeah, 54-ish. But it's really not as good as we thought it would be, I guess, so there's that. And there's also this new Face Hunter tweaks cooked up. You might want to check out my video about it from yesterday and see if you enjoy something like that. It's definitely a nice little interesting different way to play Demon Hunter, that's for sure. Spot number 4 is actually kind of surprising, but yes, Unholy Death Knight actually has enough stats and enough win rate to be showing here for a good deck for easy legend from Diamond 5. I tried this deck myself in higher legend and I gotta say it did not work at all for me. But from Diamond 5 to legend, apparently the meta is a little bit more favorable to it, and it is indeed showing up with over 1000 games and with over 58% win rate, so definitely nothing to scoff at. Nothing too crazy about the list aside from we actually do not have have the 8 mana spells in here, and I gotta say those have been winning me a lot of games when I tried it with the chow down, but this one is trying to be faster, so I guess it might be onto something. It does have silence in here so you can handle some bigger men, but the rest looks pretty standard stuff, with things like the Lungi's Last Stand being something you don't see in every single list, but it's definitely a pretty good part of it. I do have a guide about a deck like this from a few weeks ago, I'm pretty sure, so you might want to check what makes this deck tick, but now let's see what the matchups are looking like, and we are gonna see some pretty polarizing stuff, including Spell Demon Hunter being quite the bitch for you. Bubble Pally is also gonna be a problem, but everything else actually hella green, so kinda insane in it. Maybe this deck has been farming the early days meta, when people were trying some different stuff and moved away from Spell Demon Hunters and Pallies, but I don't know. For now, at least it has a moment to shine, so let's respect for a second. When going first with a deck like this, you are gonna try and curve out as fast as you can with your early game corpsey stuff, and you do have plenty of sticky stuff with Twilight Egg, with Mermy, with Maze Guide, the Ancient Raptor, and curving into a Mosquito could also be pretty sick. Depending on the matchup, you could be holding on to things like Living Paradox, but if you're against the Spell Demon Hunter, this is gonna be kinda crappy. As for on the coin, again, try to keep the good 1-2-3s, and you should be good with a deck like this. Here's the stats right now: 1300 games, 58.8% win rate, definitely not bad, I can tell it that much compared to some other lists. And we do have another iteration of the deck with the chow down, again, very big sample size, a little bit less win rate however, so there's that. Herald Death Knight also is looking a little bit better on the win rate and play rate, but it's still pretty whatever if you ask me. Here's a more populated list that is doing a lot worse, so yeah, still definitely needs some support. And the last deck on the list could have been Dragon Warrior again, but Herald Shaman is still looking mighty strong, with several different iterations with close to 60% win rate, so there is that. Nothing too crazy is happening here. We do have a couple of hexes and a single copy of Lightning Storm, but these two can vary depending on what the meta is for you. If you're facing a lot of egg decks, this is going to be amazing. If you're facing a lot of aggro decks, well, Lightning Storm is probably going to be better. We also have a couple of Wailing Vapors, so you have a little bit bigger, better early game, but everything else is really standard, so check out my guides about it if you want to see how to be piloting it. Updated matchups are as follows: Spell Demon Hunter not great, and Face Hunter also a little bit too quick. Bubble Pally slightly on the negative, same with Dragon Warrior, the rest is pretty decent, so there's that. When you're first with this deck, you are going to be looking for both your cheap Herald cards, the good early game 1-drops, and heck, even the 0-drop could be alright. Primordial Overseer is especially good if you already have Static Shock or Ritual of Power, and curving into Flight of the Firehawk can also be great. Depending on the matchup, you could be holding on to Lightning Storm or even Hex. On the coin, it's not much different, so mulligan accordingly. This is the list I'm showing you: almost 1000 games, above 60% win rate, and we have several other different iterations with similar win rates and decent sample size, some of them, so no wonder this is included into the top 5. Other than that, we really don't have anything else going on for Shaman right now. It's just several different iterations of this thing. For the classes we haven't mentioned, starting off with Hunter, Face Hunter definitely still is quite strong, and this list could have been on the 6th spot, or maybe 7th after Dragon Warrior if we gotta be honest, but yeah, it's just not as good as everything else I showed you so far, so gotta respect the stats after all. Companion Hunter is also looking a lot better, according to the stats nowadays, but it's nowhere near top level territory at least, but we definitely have quite a few respectable top tier 2 stats, so the deck is definitely very legend capable right now. Dragon Hunter is also playable right now. I do have a video about it, by the way, so give it a check, but it's definitely not the best deck out there. And Quest Hunter right now is really not showing up apparently, but if you ask me, it's still gonna be a playable deck. Maybe for the last 7 days we can see it. There it is, Quest Hunter. Wow, look at how playable that thing is. When it comes down to Mage, Leyline Mage is still pretty dog water if we gotta be honest. Let's move down to the last 3 days, however. Burn Mage is looking quite respectable actually. Quest Mage is also actually rising a lot more according to the stats, and this deck has been doing crazy good in top legend when skilled hands. Leyline Mage still pretty much under the weather. It's actually looking kinda playable with 52+ win rate, but the sample size is hella low, and the decks with bigger, better sample sizes are just having a lot worse win rate. Moving down to Priest, Quest Control Priest would be your best bet. There are several different iterations of it, some more control-y, some more quest oriented, but for the most part it's not looking great according to the stats, even though again in skilled hands I think you could be hitting legend with this thing. Apparently there's also a thing called Kris, which is looking absolute dog water, and I have no idea why the hell would you be playing Kris right now. Like, what's the point of the egg in here? Like, what are you doing to make it actually a working egg deck? Yeah, I have no idea why this is in here. Like, yeah, you have the Umbra, but that means you can literally be playing this thing in red about any deck. It just sounds wrong. Moving down to Rogue, again, in top legend you're gonna see plenty of this deck, so the skill cap for it is very high, but from Diamond 5 to Legend, most people really don't do too well. Some do, but they hit Legend and never come back into this sample size, so yeah, it's not a deck I would advise people that are struggling hitting Legend to be playing, but if you really have a thing for Rogue, you can definitely be hitting Legend with it. There's both Imbue and Herald versions, and some combine each other, but yeah, that's about it for the class right now. As for Warlock, Egg Warlock is still gonna be your best bet. The one with Asphyxidon is also looking kinda okay, but the one without it is just better. Rafaam Warlock also looks like it's showing up on the stats, but it's really not great. And here's another very weird Warlock deck. Apparently, Divergence Warlock is also a deck I did try not too long ago and it felt okay, but according to the stats, it really isn't. And last but definitely not least, we have Warrior here, and I almost included this into the top 5 because as you see, we have 3 different iterations with decent-ish sample size and very good win rate. But if we go to a list that actually has enough sample size, we go down to 57.6, which is definitely not sounding top tier for me. But if we gotta be completely honest, if you combine these 2 decks, which just have like a couple of card differences, you are gonna be getting yourself a top tier deck right now, so definitely could have been a part of the top 5, and it's looking a lot better than the last top 5, I can tell it that much. I was actually kind of getting worried where the hell Warrior is going, but no, it's still pretty much a top tier deck for easy Legend, and basically on a budget too. Egg Warrior, like I said, is a lot more playable in top Legend right now because it's literally farming Spell Demon Hunters like no other, and it feels great against things like Face Hunters too, so if you're sick of those, definitely give Egg Warrior a try. Herald Warrior is also having somewhat similar results like Dragon Warrior is, but for the most part, it is the worst deck, and Quest Warrior, definitely not great. So that's about it for this top 5, guys. I hope you found this helpful, and if you did, a like and subscribe would be great. Don't forget to check me out live on stream each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. And don't forget, if you want to support the channel for free, you can download Raid from my premium download link and start the game the right way. Thanks for watching, guys. I'm Kris05, and I'll see you in my next video or stream.